With the peace of the Galactic Republic under threat from Count Dooku, the Galactic Republic proposes a military creation act, which would authorize the creation of a Grand Army of the Republic. In a bid to maintain the peace, Senator Padme Amidala returned to Coruscant, but despite the heavy protection, Padme's starship exploded, killing several members of her guard. The assassination attempt allowed Palpatine to try and draw Padme away from the voting, as he was quietly in favour of the creation of the army, and initially, it is both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker assigned to protect the senator. Having failed in her first attempt, Zam Vessell received poisonous arthropods to try and kill the senator in her sleep, but the Jedi performed their duty and prevent her death, then chased the bounty hunter. The Jedi pursue Vessell through the streets and skies of Coruscant, ultimately being able to question her, but before she could reveal her superior, she is killed by a saberdart. Obi-Wan is deployed by the Jedi Council to investigate the killing of the bounty hunter, as Anakin is assigned to escort and protect Padme on her return to Naboo. But what if Anakin had been tasked with going to Kamino instead of Obi-Wan? Could he save his mother? Would Anakin and Padme still be married? As you're going to discover, the Jedi Council's change of roles could have altered the fates of both good and evil. As both Anakin and Obi-Wan stood in the centre of the Council chamber, Yoda and Mace Windu decided that Anakin should try and track the assassin, leaving Obi-Wan to escort Padme to Naboo. Anakin is visibly disgusted as he leaves the Council members, and he headed to the Chancellor's office, before looking into the saberdart. Palpatine knew that Anakin had wanted to join Padme on Naboo, but his primary objective was to ensure the Military Creation Act passed through the Senate, and assured Anakin that the representative Jar Jar Binks would make the correct decision, and Obi-Wan would keep Padme safe. Upon hearing that the Gungan would be taking Padme's place, Anakin is concerned as he left the office, and asks Mace Windu to try and keep Jar Jar in line with Padme's plans for retaining the peace. The Master of the Order reluctantly agreed, and on the advice of his master, Anakin met with the Bessalist Dexter to identify the saberdart. The Jedi is then made aware of the plans of Kamino, and rather than going to the Jedi archives, Anakin asked his mentor Palpatine. The Chancellor provides the exact coordinates for the planet erased from the archives, as he wanted the Jedi Order to be impressed enough by the clones to trust them in battle, and Anakin flew to the planet south of the Rishi Maze. Back on Naboo, Padme had been equally annoyed by the lack of Anakin's presence, but this proved to be a blessing, as the absence of the distraction enabled her to secretly help Jar Jar through the Senate debates. Palpatine's initial frustration at the Army Act not being passed is heightened by Jar Jar's reluctance to grant him emergency powers, and he decided he could gain them later, so ordered Dooku to begin preparing their droid armies. But there was to be a slight issue in his plan, as Anakin had just arrived on Kamino when he collapsed to the floor. Visions of his mother suffering on Tatooine infected his mind, and even if he was disobeying the Jedi Council, Anakin chose to make the short trip to Tatooine. Driven by his anger, Anakin found his old slave at Watto, and he directed him to the last home, where the fate of his mother is revealed. But due to Anakin's speed of arrival, the Jedi manages to find his way to the Tusken Raider camp, and although she had been gravely injured, Shmi had managed to survive. Although Anakin wanted for Shmi to return to Coruscant, Anakin had already disobeyed the Council, and did not wish to incur their wrath, then took C-3PO back to Kamino. But as he left the planet, Anakin found himself surrounded by Nantex-class starfighters. Anakin used his superior skill to defeat them, then alerted the Council of the attack after returning to Kamino. Waiting for Anakin to find out more about the clone army, the Jedi discovers that Master Sifo Dyas had commissioned the clones a decade ago, even though he had allegedly been killed over Felucia. Now armed with this knowledge, Anakin sought the advice of his master on Naboo, and he summoned Yoda to investigate the activity on Geonosis. The Grand Master entered into his starship, and approaching the planet, he is met by a blockade of droid control ships, clearly designed to threaten the Republic. Before he made a move to enter Geonosis, the Jedi orders Obi-Wan to take Padme back to Coruscant, as Jar Jar's resistance has started to falter. Emerging in her Senate pod for the first time since her assassination attempt, the presence of Padme is met by rapturous applause, and she is quick to state that the Jedi needed their support to maintain the peace, and offered a compromise to the other senators. If the Grand Army had to be created, the Jedi would take control, and the murmurs of approval are anger to Palpatine. The Sith Lord is forced to accept the decision, and ordered Dooku to deploy his droids on the clones heading to Geonosis. The Jedi used their combined might to oppose the threat and gain control over the airspace, but as they descend to the ground, a much more substantial army had been waiting for them. The clones had tested to their limit and reigned victorious, but a new war had started, even if not solely on Palpatine's terms. After the Republic victory on Geonosis, Palpatine had seen that the clones were an asset that he had to get his hands on, and he'd ordered Dooku to try and capture Kamino. The blockade of the planet is soon received by the Jedi, as alongside the assets of the clones, the Jedi had also managed to acquire financial benefactors to fund new aircraft and equipment, and deploy them to defend the clones. But the goal laid out by Sidious had not been to reclaim the cloning complex, as Dooku ordered his new assassin Asajj Ventress to claim a sample of the clone DNA for themselves. The Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi leads the assault in his New Republic Star Destroyer, and alongside Anakin, they find the planet is silent except for the waves from the water beneath them. The Jedi find this to be suspicious, and as Anakin took a starfighter to investigate, he suddenly found himself under heavy fire from the droids rising from beneath the sea. The Jedi Knight made an undignified landing on the platform, then could sense the darkness emanating from the inside and ran in with his lightsaber. The Generation 1 clone troopers aboard Obi-Wan's ship received a signal to attack, and they charged at a separatist droid army. In the midst of the brutal battle, Dooku had cleverly used Ventress as a decoy to draw the Jedi away from their primary objective, and easily took the sample he required. Having seen the effectiveness of these soldiers, Dooku thought to himself that he could use this to try and overthrow his master, and on Geonosis, he enlisted the services of the surviving Jango Fett to create his own secret clone army, which would be ready by the time Sidious tried to make a move to gain emergency powers. The Jedi on Kamino believed that they had reigned victorious over the forces of Dooku, and as Ventress escaped in a fan-bladed starfighter, Anakin felt something had been amiss. Obi-Wan did not believe Anakin's claim, so he sought the advice of Palpatine once again, and the Chancellor told the Jedi Knight that it had been a severe lapse of judgment on Dooku's behalf, in underestimating the speed of the Republic's mobility. But as Anakin left his office, Palpatine looked at Padme Amidala, then at the skyline of Coruscant in disgust, before finding his apprentice through his hologram. The Sith Lord did not enjoy the treachery that his apprentice had tried to enact, and choked him through the Force, then ordered him to bring the sample to Coruscant. Dooku had to ensure the safety of his prized possession, and ordered a group of droid starfighters to distract from his ship, and the plan worked until they reached the airspace of Coruscant. Admiral Yularen had been completing a routine patrol over the area, when one of the navigational officers alerted him to the incoming threat. A group of ARC 170 starfighters is summoned from the hangar of the destroyer, and in the middle of the droids is the ship of Dooku. The Sith used the distraction caused by the main squadron and dived to the surface below, aiming for the secret hangar beneath Sidious's building, but he had not even made it through the clouds when the fighter of Mace Windu began to chase him. The Master of the Order tracked his old Jedi friend, and Dooku knew he could not go to his secret hideout and asked for the assistance of his master. The Chancellor had been seated in his office waiting for Dooku, and upon hearing of the plight of his apprentice, he ran outside to the Senate building and asked for Dooku to stage a capture. The Count obliges and changes transport to a speeder before grabbing Palpatine. The Chancellor pretends to struggle as they travel back to his hangar, but unfortunately they are met by Anakin. The Jedi Knight had taken over from Windu and ordered Dooku to release his grip, but he pushed Palpatine into a narrow shaft and soon jumped him himself, then shot Force lightning from his fingertips at Anakin. The Jedi Knight managed to deflect the attack and scrambled to Obi-Wan to intercept the Separatist leader. The Jedi Master casually stood at the foot of the passageway, and one of the clones fired multiple stun shots at Dooku, and he fell to the floor. Anakin escorts the Chancellor back to his office. Obi-Wan takes the former Jedi into a cell, and there he is surprised to find that the clone sample had been in his possession. The Jedi Master deduces that Dooku must have been trying to reach somebody on Coruscant, and he is granted an emergency meeting in front of the Council, when they discovered that Dooku had escaped. The Jedi are reduced to a stunned silence, as the hologram of Tarkin revealed more details of the escape of Dooku, and they sprung into action to protect the Chancellor from any more harm. Anakin had been located near the Chancellor's office, and as he ran back to find his friend, the Jedi Knight is shocked to find that Palpatine was nowhere to be found. Master Windu diverts himself to the Senate building, where the absence of the Supreme Chancellor activated a lockdown of the building. The Jedi Master is not deterred by the senators running around him, and finds Padme Amidala in the middle of the chaos. The Jedi leapt to confront the politician, and Amidala denied knowing the location of his superior, but Windu could sense that he had not been entirely truthful. Subtly probing into his mind, the Jedi Master discovers that Palpatine had left the office by himself, so dispatched the Kithar Jedi Master Quinlan Vos to retrace Palpatine's steps. Vos used his special abilities in psychometry to determine that Palpatine had entered into a speeder, but that his destination had been unknown, as the data from the docking areas had been erased. But the answer lay yet again with Anakin Skywalker, as the Jedi Knight had been helping with the search when he felt that his mother was about to be in danger on Tatooine. Without permission from the Council, the Jedi Knight ordered his fleet to go to intercept the arriving enemy, before rushing to the Temple's communication center, finding his master and commander Cody. Anakin's decision to head to Tatooine is met by disapproval, as the future was always in motion, and the Council have only one option, which was to try and gather the senators. The lockdown in the Senate building helped to locate them, and the Jedi quickly propose a vote to deploy the clones to find the Chancellor. The majority agree, not realising that the Jedi were interpreting the agreement differently and contrary to what they had thought, and despite their lack of evidence against Palpatine, they execute Order 65. The clones all turn on their spot and efficiently mobilising their gunships, then head in separate directions to look for the Chancellor. In the meantime, the Jedi had been in the temple, and Anakin had been enraged to discover that the Jedi had been going after his friend, then implored them to cancel their order. The requests are met by silence, as the Chancellor had now been suspected with assisting the escape of Dooku, and they await confirmation of the Chancellor Dooku's location. The voice of Admiral Yularen is the first to emerge, and he had spotted Dooku's ship passing by them on its way to Tatooine, just as Anakin had predicted, and the Council sent Anakin and Obi-Wan to stop him. The Jedi Knight feels anger at the thought of Dooku being near his mother, and he cannot wait to face his demons of his former life as a slave as they finally pass through the Republic ships to the surface of the planet. Anakin charged through the sands on his hate-fueled adventure, but he had enough control to sense the stench of darkness from Dooku. The former Jedi had received intelligence from his spies on the location of the Lars' home, and he had planned to go to it until he had been forced to ignite his blade. The clones and the Jedi surround him when he summons the cyborg General Grievous from his ship, and it is Obi-Wan who prevented their massacre. The Jedi Master found the sand hindered the movement of Grievous, and as his mechanical feet began to fill up with the fine particles, Obi-Wan used his agility to cut a cyborg open in pieces. Dooku looked at Grievous with disappointment as he fought off Anakin and the clones. From above, Ventress jumped to help her master, but the Jedi had arrived with reinforcements, and all seemed to be over for the Sith. But from the sandstorms, Palpatine emerged holding Shmi, and ordered the Jedi to stop their attack. The true Palpatine had been revealed, and Anakin's feet twitched as he debated tackling him to the floor, but from a Republic gunship, ARC Trooper 5 jumped to slam the Sith Lord to the floor. Anakin caught Shmi from rolling to the floor of the valley, as the Jedi Masters and clones used their combined might to firstly defeat Dooku, then the Sith Lord, even if it cost them many casualties. Thankfully for Anakin, Shmi had not been badly injured, and the Jedi are greeted by all of the senators and civilians, praising them for their heroics, even if the Senate had to be restructured. With the war over, Anakin also finally had more time to spend with Padme, and chose to leave the Order for the Senator and his mother, but the Jedi invited him back after a radical change to their code, becoming a Jedi Master that was also the hero of the Republic. That is it for What If Anakin Went to Kamino Instead of Obi-Wan. If you enjoyed this What If, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.